What's up, YouTube? What's up, Xtreme Gainz family? I'm Chuck. This is Xtreme Gainz. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today's Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, and this is my Amc Gme and SPY Algo exposed daily update and preparation video for tomorrow, TGIFF and beyond. As always, I hope you had a great day in the market today and you were able and did take advantage of the upside move essentially across the board today and make some extreme gains for yourselves. I'm going to go over all my regulars, my snake Algo for all three tickers and some macro comparatives. So with that said, let's dig in. On your screen is AMC and my current intra-week snakes. AMC finished the day up 3.59%, up an additional 0.75 and after hours at $13.37. I talked to you last night about the two potential new intra-week snakes that I am looking at currently since the diversion from the previous snake that projected and fulfilled the last 6 days up until yesterday prior to the diversion to the downside that we saw. So using the day prior to divergence, like I always do, this was the one, and the position I had it in last night going into this morning was like that. You can see that price action went downside first thing in the morning, then back up and converged back with it. We are now converged with it and running candle for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. So this one's still on the table. This looks and appears to be an exact mirrored image of this upside projection in a downside manner. So it's an inverted mirroring as far as I'm concerned at this moment. And you can see what the projection from this is moving forward into tomorrow and beyond. Then there's the day of divergence, and that is this one. And the position I had it in last night with its projection for today was like that. And it projected and fulfilled literally candle for candle today in its entirety. So this one's a little more spot on as far as the candle for candle thus far, but they're both essentially still in play in my opinion. You can see the projection from this one moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to follow that one. The both of them on here, that's what it looks like. It does appear that potentially tomorrow there could be a diversion from one or the other that would allow me to see that definitively and invalidate one of them tomorrow. So that's the hope, and that's what I'm looking for from both of the intra-week snakes for tomorrow. The macro comparatives for AMC. The green macro comparatives from the previous double-double right here. I showed you this and explained it in last night's video. The placement that I had on it is what you see there, and the projection and fulfillment today was dead on. So far, so good. Obviously, the level in which the candles are projecting for price levels are not fulfilling on all of them, as you can see even previously, and that's okay. The path is being followed. So moving forward from this macro comparative, you can see what the projection is moving into tomorrow and the short term beyond, and I'll give you a macro view of that for the potential midterm from that. Then the bearish scenario is using this same double bottom, but this portion of it, which is this one, in an inverted mirrored way for a potential bearish scenario. And this has been projecting and fulfilling now for days. The projection in its placement that I had it in was fulfilled to the upside today, 100% candle for candle. Moving forward, you can see what the projection is from this moving into tomorrow and beyond. It's continued downside from this one. Then the macro double-double from the double-double prior to the January 2021 run-up. Not much to say about this. This thing is requiring a move to the upside and in a heavy way. We started climbing a little bit today with the rest of the market. This would need a continued move to this upside to get back in line with this as far as that goes. And that is all there is to say about that. That is AMC in its entirety. GME. Same setup with the intra-week snakes for GME, as there are currently 2 of them on my radar due to the divergence here, and price action still running with both of them, which I'll show you in a second. GME had a heck of a nice day, had a green day up 10.07%, in regular hours up an additional 0.96%, in after hours trading at 134.90. Again, day prior to and day of. Here is the day prior to, and in the position that I had it in the last few days has been like that. Last night when I went over this, we were down here. I said this would require a hard move to the upside to get back in line with this, and that's exactly what today provided. This is still on the table, and you can see the projection from this moving forward into tomorrow and beyond. Then the day of divergence. It's similar to AMC's, both of these. Come on. Both of these are similar to AMC's current potential. Right there. Right there is the position I had this on. And there is the fulfillment of its projection to the upside today, just like the other one. And you can see the projection from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond. This was a candle for candle today on this one. These are both very strikingly similar to AMC's to current. And here is both of them on both AMC on your left, GME on your right, and how they could potentially play out, and where a possible diversion from one of them could potentially take place to make a definitive decision on invalidating one of them and getting fulfillment hopefully out of the other one in its entirety moving forward. Very similar to each other. So that is the intra-week snakes for GME. The macro comparative for GME, again, just like AMC's green current, and that's how I got that for AMC, was evaluating this from GME. This double-double is from the previous double-double right next door here. And I've looked at this in two ways. This is the straight up version of it on current, and the projection from this moving into today as well was this upside, and it fulfilled that projection 100% to the upside with that move today. You can see the projection from it moving forward into tomorrow and the short term beyond, and I'll zoom out here and you can see the mid to long term from this one if price action were to continue fulfilling this in its entirety. There was a mirrored version of this that I had showed you, that I was looking at. And this is it there. And that is if you mirror this, if they were to mirror this move. And I only wanted to show you this because it resembled the exact move to the upside. And here you go. Projection fulfilled in the mirrored position. And this is different than the straight up position, as the straight up has it consolidating, then dropping out, where this one has it running upside before potentially dropping out if it were to continue fulfilling that in its entirety. So that's what I'm looking for from that in that mirrored position if it were to potentially continue fulfilling itself in that manner. If not, the straight up position that has been projecting and fulfilling for weeks now will do just fine. That is GME in its entirety. SPY, the current intra-week snake on SPY. Now, I personally, again, this is why I hate sometimes giving my description of these things and what I'm perceiving as potential upcoming movement from them in the immediate. I said something along the lines of potential continued downside with some volatility, and obviously SPY turned on a dime today after a push downside and went bonkers to the upside. SPY is up 1.9% in regular trading hours, up an additional 0.1% in after hours at 417.81. All right, so that's where I was wrong in giving my description, and I'll take ownership of that. I'm just going to let you perceive. I've said this before, and I ended up getting back into giving descriptions of what I'm seeing from them. So I'm just gonna present them and let you all see what they are potentially projecting moving forward. So here you go. The price action in the position that I had it in was this. Last night was indicating potentially this downside, and we did go downside, and then we dropped on a dime, spun around, and went right back upside. I did look at this as it earlier in the day as it potentially being this, because it is a candle for candle replication of that movement, just at a higher level. So that's one potential variable to this that I am looking at, that this needs extended in that manner, and the movement that we saw today is potentially that movement replicating itself at a higher level, which is very possible. Or it needs extended even more, and this peak that I talked about is not fulfilled yet. And what we just saw here is this. So if that were the case, and this needed an extension similar to the snakes that came before it in the intra-week setups, it would put this in somewhat of a position like this. And there would have been the fulfillment of that move back up. And if the peak is not fulfilled, then I would expect a continuation to upside tomorrow as well. And I just described it again. See? So I have a hard time not doing that. Anyways, if it's in the extended pull like that and that peak is not fulfilled, you can see for yourself what the projection is moving forward into tomorrow and beyond. If that peak is in, and what I said about this movement being fulfilled, and I'll have to shrink it back down to show you that, how I mean it, something similar to this. If the peak was already in, and this was that movement to the upside, like it projected and fulfilled candle for candle, as you can see, then obviously I would expect a rejection and potentially back downside, unless this were to invert mirror this downside move right here to the upside and then converge back with it. So that's what I'm looking at, and how I'm looking at the current intra-week snake from SPY. Let me point out as well, you ask anybody in the world that does any kind of comparison for work, any kind of comparative work whatsoever, it is a requirement that you have 2 data points at a minimum to make any kind of comparison whatsoever. I just want to put that out there. That is common knowledge. That is reasonable knowledge that most people should have. So I've had some inboxes and some comments from some dummies. So I want to put that out there, according to me, saying what I said about that potentially going downside today, and it ended up going upside. So I'm going to let you all view that, but I do want to make that point. Anybody in the world that does anything in comparative work whatsoever, it's a requirement that you have 2 data points at a minimum to be able to make any kind of comparison. When I first clip one of these and I get it down here in its starting point as an initial placement, I need one more. If it's a low, I need a high. If it's a high, I need a low. I need 2 data points in the form of a high and a low to show me what the pull and placement on these things might be. So I ask you moving forward, as far as me showing these things, give me at least that much slack to get those 2 data points of high and low, or low and high, to be able to get somewhat of an accurate placement on these before coming at my neck over my description of what I'm potentially perceiving from these things. I would appreciate it. All right, the macro comparative is the macro comparative from the 08-09 correction and crash of SPY's historical self. It's this red one. I have been going over this and reviewing this on this channel since I started the channel back in December, as you all know. And in its current position, which I've called the extended version, I have lined this corner up with this corner, and I've done that for a while now, and talked about this potentially invert mirroring these movements. If you pull this down here, you can see you have somewhat of a replication of those movements. Then you have the move to the upside, right, which would be roughly here. You have what looks to me to be this initial move down into this W formation, and now the move back up, potentially. All right, potentially. If you put it back up here where it belongs, that's potentially what it looks like to me. If that were the case, I would expect this to reject at some point here, maybe some short-term upside, maybe it overextends and then comes back down, but some consolidation to finish out this round top ascending level of consolidation that I've been talking about for weeks, and before it would eventually follow, if it were to follow, and go down into off of the cliff into the actual crash location according to that macro comparative. So that is what I am looking at in a general perception and perspective of the macro comparative. As, again, another disclaimer, this has never been a candle for candle projection for me using this macro comparative for SPY. It's always been a projected suggested path. You can see by its historical fulfillment of projection, it's never been candle for candle. It has never been candle for candle, y'all. Okay? It's been a zoomed out, generalized perspective of macro movements of a path that has been followed. I have never used it granular as a candle for candle. Okay? All right. Then, real quick, I'll bring it back in. I didn't go over it last night, but I will tonight, because if we were to continue upside, up out of here in a heavy way, similar to today or greater, and I would have to then reevaluate the positioning of the extended version macro comparative. However, if that were to happen, we have what I've called the cuckoo macro comparative. It's from crash to crash. If this is your first video, go back and look for context. It's from the, I'll give you a quick brief, but go back for context, in-depth context. It's from the bottom of the 09 crash to the top of 2019 clipped, and then placed on the bottom of 2020 crash till now and beyond. This would indicate a W formation down here, which I'll show you in a second, that we've just put in its entirety. And then this goes heavy to the upside to eventual all-time highs. I think it would be crazier for this to happen than it would be for this to dump off and finish the crash. But this is a crazy market, and crazier things have happened. So that is a potential expectation if price action continues to the upside in a heavy way. The W formation I'm talking about is this replicated or projected W formation from the macro comparative, and the current W formation that we have just completed, and we are now heavy upside. So that runs right down in there, and if that were to continue to fulfill, that is what it would look like, and that is what I would be looking at if we were to head to the upside continually like that. That's everything I'm looking at with AMC, GME, and SPY for tomorrow, TGIFF. I hope you had a great day. Like I said, have a great day tomorrow in the markets. Do me a favor and make yourselves some extreme gains tomorrow. That would be cool to see and to hear about. Have a good day. I will not have an update and prep video out tomorrow night, but I'll get one out on Sunday night for the week, like I always do. If I don't talk to you over the weekend, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself, and I will see you guys and talk to you on the next one. Later.